He claimed that he had video footage. He also claimed to have the real Kim Porter memoir.
Because my next guest just testified before a federal grand jury. He says he was in possession of a trove of digital evidence from Diddy's freak-offs.
Oh, honey, grab your tea and clutch those pearls, because what's unraveling inside that Brooklyn courtroom is not just scandalous, it's straight up historic. The whispers started slow, like a toxic perfume creeping through the music industry, and before we knew it, the entire facade came crumbling down. Sean Diddy Combs, once hip-hop royalty, now finds himself locked up in a cold Brooklyn detention center, possibly for the rest of his life. Yes, life. This isn't some petty tabloid gossip. This is the implosion of an empire, a courtroom thriller that could take down one of the most iconic figures in entertainment history. The accusations, oh baby, they're not cute. We're talking years of manipulation, abuse, and power gone completely rogue. What started as a murmur has now become a deafening roar, one that could destroy everything Diddy built.
You're hearing about all these videos with celebrities, not going to be part of the criminal case. And
Cassie video.
The Cassie video is going to be part.
Right.
We're going to get to that in a minute with the jury. But what we did was, number one, we showed them the prosecution's case from one of our documentaries. And then we showed them the defense from the current document.
Diddy wasn't just a mogul. He was the mogul, a living brand, the man behind those all-white Hamptons parties where celebs practically levitated in linen, a chart-topping powerhouse who defined an entire generation's soundtrack. Where he was untouchable, or so we thought. But now, prosecutors are pulling back the velvet curtain, and it's ugly behind there. Allegations are flying that behind the champagne and designer suits, there was a twisted world Diddy allegedly curated, a secretive, coercive kingdom where he ruled with intimidation and silence. And the worst part, it worked. For years. Now the court is his stage, and Diddy's legal team is spinning like it's Grammy night, framing his wild lifestyle as nothing more than consensual extravagance. But prosecutors are waving receipts, and then came the video. Yes, that video. In grainy but unmistakable hotel footage from 2016, Diddy is caught on camera chasing Cassie Ventura, his ex, down a hallway. What happens next is horrific, grabbing, shoving, throwing her to the floor, kicking her, dragging her by her hoodie like she's nothing. That video? It was allegedly hidden for years, bought and buried by Diddy. Now it's out, and baby, it's changing everything.
There has been no profit motive involved at all. The last word is profit.
He's already rich.
So whether or not he had the freak-offs or he did whatever.
Follow the money.
Well, there is no money.
Exactly.
I mean, the freak-offs aren't okay, the way in which I read it, it's not an illegal business. A freak-off is a freak, or whatever these things are, right? But the profit, that last word actually got my attention, because I was like,
Cassie, once just a pretty face under Diddy's record label, is done being in the background. She's front and center now, and the girl is not holding back. She's coming for justice with her real name and real truth, and she's not alone. The prosecution, oh, they came loaded. A full lineup of accusers, each with their own disturbing stories. Some hidden under aliases, others stepping out of the shadows like Cassie, ready to expose years of abuse. Diddy's team, meanwhile, is playing the kink card, claiming it was all consensual, all adult, all just part of a wild lifestyle. They're even tossing out the swinger defense like it's a get-out-of-jail-free card. But prosecutors aren't having it. They're calling BS, saying this was never about consensual fun. It was about power, control, and orchestrated harm hidden behind closed doors.
I think one thing that I haven't heard said at this table yet is bribery. So he probably promised a lot of these people either fame, fortune, riches. Whether or not he delivered, I doubt it. But that's another matter entirely, right? So that's obviously, if he incentivized some of these people in order to participate in all of these things, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Is that a definition, or does that fit a definition of coercion in any way, bribery?
And honey, it's not just about Diddy anymore. The names now tangled in this mess, a full-on Hollywood fever dream. Kanye West, Michael B. Jordan, Kid Cudi. Yes, they're on the list of people who could be dragged into this courtroom circus. No one knows if they're witnesses, victims, or just casualties of being too close to the sun. Inside that courtroom, pure electricity. Jurors being grilled about Diddy's career, their views on the music industry, and their opinions on alternative lifestyles. One juror had liked a meme about Diddy's stash of baby oil. Another had seen the Cassie video and called it damn. Yup, dismissed. The whole jury selection has been a drama of its own. Each person's opinion, a landmine.
The big thing that is really interesting, and it's going to be a big problem for the defense if you look at this mock jury, the Cassie video. He is not being prosecuted for it. That's a state crime in California, and the statute of limitations is run. But I am telling you, that video was thunderous for a bunch of these jurors.
And oh, the evidence just keeps coming. Beyond the Cassie video, prosecutors hint they've got a treasure chest of damning material. Witness statements, surveillance footage, and even physical evidence from the raids on Diddy's LA and Miami mansions. Among the bizarre items recovered, over 1,000 bottles of personal lubricant. You heard that right. It's become the twisted symbol of the excess prosecutors claim was at the heart of Diddy's hidden world. They say those weren't party favors. They were props in degrading performances. Meanwhile, the defense is waving it all off like it's just tabloid bait. They claim the media's sensationalizing things, trying to fill gaps where they can't prove real crimes. But the public, oh, they're not buying it. Outside the courtroom, it's pure chaos. Protesters, fans, media, some wearing puff shirts in support, others waving signs demanding accountability. The lines between courtroom and circus have completely blurred.
We've talked about the fact that there's sometimes videos or photos or what don't get admitted to a case because they're
overly
prejudicial.
Right. This is getting admitted. Both sides.
It's definitely getting admitted.
Both sides agree. It's going to be admissible. The defense has a hurdle to jump. I will tell you that they vote in the end, and the vote may surprise.
But the most haunting question that lingers in all of this is how much was hidden in plain sight? Diddy didn't build an empire alone. There were people, enablers, who saw the red flags, who profited from his rise and said nothing. The system, it protected him. This trial isn't just about Diddy. It's about the culture that let this monster grow. Every single day, new revelations drop, more shocking than the last. The prosecution is teasing secret footage no one's seen before. Evidence that could blow the whole thing wide open. And the defense? Oh, they're prepping a scorched earth counterattack. They're going to try and destroy the credibility of every accuser, question every piece of evidence, and rewrite the narrative before it's too late. It's war in there. And the next move could be explosive.
You know, there's a short life in
Why do you think that is, what the creative side is?
Well, because losing out money, you got to take you're going through so much to try and deal with life.
Behind closed doors, it's even darker. The deeper we dig, the clearer it gets. This wasn't just about Diddy's ego. It was about domination, a system so calculated and manipulative, it looked more like a corporate machine than a party scene. This is about meticulous planning, devastating consequences, and decades of silence. Prosecutors claim the web of control Diddy built reached into every piece of his empire, from Bad Boy Records to Sean John to even his charity work. This wasn't chaos. This was orchestrated.
You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far, you know? Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what Heath had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head, you know, but when you lose your man card.
And baby, this gets even creepier. Witnesses are finally breaking their silence, and the things they're revealing, absolutely chilling. They're saying the lines between business and personal crossed over fast and violently. We're talking assistants forced to do tasks that had nothing to do with their job titles. One even claims they were made to carry sensitive cargo on private jets during middle of the nightmare flights. What kind of cargo? Oh, honey, the prosecution says these weren't deliveries. These were setups, carefully orchestrated traps for people who had no idea what they were walking into until they were in too deep. And the worst part, they felt they couldn't say no. Even more terrifying, the alleged psychological stranglehold Diddy had on everyone around him. One staffer told the court they watched an assistant get publicly humiliated, brought to tears for not booking the exact luxury suite Diddy wanted during a last-minute trip. The lesson was crystal clear. Failure was never an option, and over time, that fear allegedly bled into every part of his empire. Prosecutors are calling it a full-blown climate of submission.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what
But wait, it gets even murkier. There's now talk of legal muzzles. Multiple insiders claim Diddy made everyone in his inner circle sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, but not your average hush-hush paper. No, these were ironclad, allegedly filled with threats of financial ruin if anyone dared speak a word, even years later. Some of these gag orders reportedly had such insane penalties that challenging them legally was almost impossible. And now legal experts are saying, wait a second, could those very NDAs be considered evidence of cover-up? Because if those contracts were meant to silence victims, that's a whole new level of shady. And let's not forget the alleged enablers. Prosecutors are now poking around those names too. The longtime associates, the fixers, the ones who helped Diddy maintain the illusion. These weren't just assistants or staffers. They may have actively facilitated the madness, booking flights, scrubbing appearances, and making sure no one asked too many questions. And now they're on the hook too. This house of cards is collapsing on more than just Diddy.
That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid.
And then, oh sweetie, comes the money. The receipts are flying and investigators have gone deep into Diddy's financials. On the surface, it's all neat and polished. Fancy events, global trips, high-end gifts. Everything filed under business expenses. But dig a little deeper and prosecutors are saying these were not innocent transactions. They claim Diddy funneled payments through shell companies with suspicious names like event coordination and consulting. But prosecutors say that's code. They allege this paper trail points straight to the heart of the abuse. This was never random chaos. It was a financial labyrinth that masked a secret operation. One insider even said Diddy's brand, his whole polished, aspirational image, was a weapon. It gave him cover. People saw the flashy suits, the social media gloss, and thought, no way, not him. But prosecutors say that was the plan all along. The branding, the perfection, the success story was all part of the manipulation, and it worked for years.
No, I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head.
Now, let's talk about what the defense is doing to stop this PR bloodbath. They've rolled out a whole parade of character witnesses. Former collaborators, industry big shots, people who swear Diddy is just misunderstood. They're saying he's generous, creative, and yes, a little wild, but not evil. They're painting him as a good guy with a big personality who's been misrepresented. But let's be real. Those defenses are falling flat when you place them next to the video evidence, the NDAs, the tearful witnesses, and the insane stories coming from people who lived in his shadow. How do you even begin to reconcile these two versions of the same man? On one hand, he's the benevolent music mogul. On the other, he's a monster who allegedly used manipulation and violence to stay on top. And what about the music industry? That same industry that worshipped him, that gave him awards, deals, and headlines. What did they know? And when? Because people are now asking, how many folks cash checks while ignoring the horrors happening behind those studio doors?
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at it.
And now, one of the most explosive revelations to rock the courtroom, emails and text messages recovered from inside Diddy's empire. These weren't just gossip. These were messages that, according to the prosecution, show how the complaints were suppressed, not addressed. In one jaw-dropping exchange, a staffer who spoke up was warned, stay in line or else. Some were bribed, some were fired, but all were silenced. The message from the top was clear. Loyalty gets rewarded, but speaking out, that's the end of you. And here's the kicker. The defense is still swinging. They're tearing into the prosecution's case, pointing out contradictions in testimonies and implying ulterior motives. They say these stories are exaggerated, blown out of proportion, or completely fake. They want the world to believe this is a smear campaign. But let's be honest, when there's smoke and a whole damn inferno, are we really supposed to believe it's just coincidence?
Will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music and he's sitting there just looking at me. like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, you know, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication.
Meanwhile, the court of public opinion is in absolute chaos. Social media, a war zone. Hashtags are exploding. People are either demanding justice for the victims or doubling down to defend Diddy, calling this all a setup. It's gotten so intense, people are now questioning more than just Diddy's guilt. They're questioning how we as a society even let this happen. Why are we so quick to worship the powerful? How many more Diddys are out there protected by fame and money? This trial isn't just courtroom drama. It's a full-blown cultural reckoning. And every day, new witnesses take the stand. Every moment feels like it could swing the outcome. This is no longer about whether Diddy is innocent or guilty. This is about how power corrupts, how fame protects, and how long we're willing to look the other way.
Now you know to be hands-off with somebody. A number of producers come in to make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you like, or looking at you like you're a woman. You know, when you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're gonna get a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept.
So tell me, what do you think? Is this finally the downfall of a man who flew too close to the sun? Or are we watching another high-profile trial by media unfold? Drop your thoughts below because this saga is far from over. In fact, it might just be getting started.